with every word we speak, we give others an idea. You know what I'm saying? So that's because we are kings. We are culture kings, and you are a culture king if you are a leader in your home or in whatever area in life. How you doing? DJ Ronnie Ron Stott, William Stokes, Dorian Edwards. We are here. Hey, what's going on, fellas?
What's good?
Up, King? Kings, I mean. Yes.
Kings and queens out there.
Yes, all the queens as well.
Just the royal fam
right now. Yes. Again, spread the word. Go share this with everyone out there. We thank y'all so much for those that have been joining us for the past few weeks. All right, we don't take that for granted at all. And yes, tell folks we got some things we definitely want to talk about out there, and we encourage your comments or questions as well too, as we talk about some of the events that are going on, and maybe even also give some ideas and suggestions and things like that. But also, too, we want to give a shout out to our big homie Big Los out there.
Big Los.
Big Los, man. Hey, one of the funniest comedians around, is doing some great things, and hey, you all need to definitely check out his TV series. Matter of fact, I saw him on what is it? Not Fatal Attraction.
In the nick of time or something like that.
Well, actually, yeah. Here's in the nick of time. Yeah, definitely. Check out go to Vimeo and check out his story, his play in the Nick of Time series. All right, man. Also doing a great thing right there. Go and check it out on Vimeo. But no, he was doing something else that was on TV One. Fatal Attraction, right?
I think that might be correct.
Well, man, Fatal something. But I saw him on TV One. Proud of him, man. A awesome actor, man, father, husband, and comedian. Doing some great things. So go and check out In the Nick of Time right there. Go and check out the series on Vimeo. All right, awesome. So yes, again, we spread the word, tell folks that we're here. Let's get right into our first topic. Unless y'all got something real quick.
Now we ready,
bro.
Like double Dutch.
I say double Dutch. All right. Well, go ahead, Dorian. Go ahead, sir.
Yo, so there's a lot of stuff that's going on. So I mean, I'm pretty excited about what we're gonna talk about today. I know we're gonna get a lot of feedback, some good feedback on it too.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I want everybody to understand too that we're gonna be talking about some tough, sensitive issues, but we're not like four angry black men here. You know what I'm saying?
No.
We gonna come talk about the issues. Well, at least I can say I'm not an angry black man.
I was gonna say I don't know.
Let's
not speak so quick.
Yeah.
Speak so quick.
Angry.
We do want to have those uncomfortable conversations. Try to somehow tie it in with the kingdom perspective, and try to really talk out and find some solutions at the end of the day, and what adjustments we can make as individuals to impact society in a positive way.
Exactly. Because again, with every word we speak, we give others an idea. So a positive idea, because we're culture kings.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're gonna start off with, we'll talk about with the NASCAR with the hangman's noose. So now it's been after the investigation, it's been pretty much called it was a pulley for the garage door. So all right. So how do y'all want to tackle this right here? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the first thing is that NASCAR, it is not a sport that is inclusive. I mean, it is for people who love the aspect of cars being raced, but like in regards to the persons who watch that is typically Caucasian people. and that's a
specific culture.
yeah, it's a culture thing. It's a culture thing, and so NASCAR took a really big stance in saying that they're going to try to make it more inclusive. They don't want the Confederate flag being flown. They want to support their one African American racer, Bubba Wallace, and they also are looking at trying to get other minorities to be a part of the sport. So when that noose was put up in Bubba Wallace's garage, it was in the beginning. It was like, hey, we already knew that something like this could happen. It's NASCAR. It's Bo and Luke Duke. It's,
I love it.
It's Daisy. It's Uncle Jesse. It's that Confederate flag. It's the General
Elite.
It's Boss Hall. It's all of that. And so then when the news came up, I don't think it was a surprise. It was just more or less like the thing I think that bothered me the most is that when you see a noose, it's associated with death.
Right.
That's a threat on your life. Yeah. And so to see the solidarity between the race car drivers, NASCAR, the Richard Petty to come out and support his driver was a huge thing. But then, a couple of days later, it comes out that the noose was a pulley. Even though I think that Will has said that he read that it was so it was it was already there, whatever.
I'll go back to another point. Well, once you finish, I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna read this segment of the article.
All right, and so it kind of took it. It made it seem like it was a made up story, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the support. We're going to be talking about cancel culture, and NASCAR was on this way of canceling. Well, I mean, it's trying to evolve from that particular stance of it being like only like a white culture type of sport. But the overall thing is that now it just seems like NASCAR acted too soon. But it's still like an unfortunate thing if that noose was placed there as a means to make Bubba Wallace afraid to participate in the sport.
Yeah, intimidation. Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead, Will.
Yeah, so the reason I was kind of confused when people were saying, okay, hey, NASCAR may have responded too soon, or this is not what we thought it was. I read the actual article. Now peep this segment. It says, okay, I got to read a couple of sentences to make it make sense. Okay, in a Thursday conference call, the reporters, NASCAR's president Steve Phelps said investigators conducted a thorough sweep of all garage areas across the tracks where NASCAR races. That's 29 tracks and 1,684 garage stalls. 4 of them are Talladega. Phelps said that they found 11 stalls using pull-down ropes tied in a knot, and only one was tied in a noose, the one discovered in Wallace's garage. So, I mean, the statistics and the level of that being a coincidence is still, kind of shaky to me. They even though it was a pull down, the pulley or whatever, there were 11 of them, but the only one that had a noose on it was in his garage. So I still kind of feel like, okay, he was singled out. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Again, we would like to take your comments. What do you think about this subject or so? I know Dorian had mentioned about basically, canceling culture. Was the phrase he used. And go ahead and explain what you mean by that for cancel culture.
So the cancel culture is that when you are caught being racist, or you're doing something that's going to misalign right now, Black folks, we will find you. Twitter will find you. Social media will find you. They will find your address. they will find a way to make sure that people know that it was you who said and did a certain act. And ever since, after George Floyd passed away, and you have celebrities, owners of businesses, whether they're local or brand, who say some things out of pocket, they are getting canceled. So the CrossFit president said some old wild stuff, canceled. The a local dude in Charlotte was saying some old wild stuff. Pizza owner, people love the pizza, canceled. My daughter even says, "You talk tough on Twitter, but had that same energy when they find you. Had that same energy when they find you."
Yeah.
Because just like the lady who was at that rally, she had the Confederate flag and she was slurring all those racial epithets and all that. When she saw herself, and then people started like, "Yo, we know who you are." Oh, like an immediate apology. And here locally, the racetrack owner was selling the Bubba rope, which is a legitimate brand. He lost all of his sponsors except for 2.
Wow.
All of his sponsors, people are not coming to the track. He had to cancel all of the races this weekend. And the article that the article that we read that I shared with y'all in the chat, he's saying that he's not a racist. He wasn't. He was trying to be funny, and it cost him. It cost him business. So there's one of the podcasts I listen to, like they have a saying, a hashtag too soon. And you try to get ahead of the funny and your timing is wrong, and it costs them. It's costing people money. And so this cancel culture, it is canceling businesses. It is canceling opportunities. It is canceling positions, and people are being that. Well, if they're not, they better start being mindful, because you will get found out.
Man, wow. That's powerful right there. Hey, what's up, Maurice? How you doing, sir? Yeah, we're going to have him on the show in a couple of weeks. We got a great thing that we're going to be talking about.
Right.
And he's a police officer and things, and doing some, fighting racism as well. So, oh man, awesome. Yeah, hey, if you all got any questions or comments, feel free to also, to type them in there, because we would like to have you a part of this discussion as we do other things as well. Man, hey, that's a very good perspective right there, Dorian. Man, again, cancel culture is like, yeah, you basically need to think before you speak. Whatever racist mindset or ideology that you may have, you better cancel that, or else you're gonna be canceled. Not life threatening, but yeah, I just want to make sure that. But pretty much, if you have some sort of business and you want support, you got to be careful with what you say. All right, and especially when it comes to racism. I'm glad to see how a lot of us, a lot of the world is taking notice of the blatant racism and systemic racism that is out there. So, yeah, right there, man. Will.
Well, you look at it, you can see that the world we're living in, like, people haven't adjusted that we're in a different world now. So you can't just be as loose on the lips as you were. Matter of fact,
right,
the world we live in, you got such watchdog type people, they research. You don't have to leave a tweet. You could have made a video, a commercial. You could have just did something back in high school that someone has documented. Wow. And you might be legitimate now and you change your ways of mind, but someone goes dig deep and say, hey, this guy y'all love, he wasn't always this lovable. He wasn't always this great guy. He looked like he's friends to y'all guys, but he thought about black people quite differently in his sophomore year,
Okay.
And so that's what, we talk about cancel culture, people need to be accountable for their actions, need to be accountable for their words, and because words are harmful. But how? I mean, when do we cut off the council? You know, when do we like? Okay, the people get an opportunity to change, to go to another route. We're so quick to just like knock people off. Like I go all the way back, like when Chris Brown and Rihanna got into the domestic dispute, and I remember listening to Tom Jones the morning show, and Tom was like, "Oh, that was despicable. He's a disgusting guy. That whole act, he was just." Doggy Chris, he like, I'll never play him on my platform again. And I'm listening to all of this, and I'm like, okay. Because at the time, Chris was a young man, a young entertainer, came into business young. And I was like, well, dang, man, you just gonna throw Chris away. You know what I'm listening? I'm like, we throwing Chris away.
Don't cancel.
You know, not trying to justify what he did, not just looking at the point that, okay, what he did, is this justifiable means to throw Chris away? Chris is no longer no good to society, because that makes me think about me, you know, because Ron didn't always make great decisions. Ron didn't always do the right thing. I'm a true product of grace, you know. So I'm like, if it was people who attempted to throw me away, I'm sure, but you know, I had opportunity to start a new chapter, and be honest, to start several new chapters in my life. But you know, if I'm kind of worried about this cancel culture, because it becomes like a witch hunt.
Wow.
And we just, you know, all of us, you know what Jesus said, you know, him without sin cast the first stone. I'm like, we got to be kind of careful with this thing.
Exactly.
And you know, even as the people, like, what do we really want? Do we want to be respected, or we just want to see people just tormented?
I like what Maurice Morris said. It says, I believe hitting them in their pockets would definitely bring about a change.
That's true.
Which is what I always said, that's the best way to fight systemic racism.
So how long would that make a change?
Right.
Well,
I'm Martin Luther King and all that, the marches, okay, they hit them in the pockets and they shut them down. But like, okay, I'll be honest, like, how long can I boycott Walmart? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm in there a couple times. You know, how long can you keep hitting them in the pocket? And if they do change, like, you can't change their heart. You know what I'm saying? They'll find another way to make money, or find another way to hate you, or find some type of way if the heart doesn't change. So even though it's hitting them in the pocket can't change, but it's still a heart issue and a spiritual issue that needs to be dealt with too. So I don't want to, you know, negate that aspect of it.
Well, this goes along with what you're saying. Until you fix the heart here and address it here, nothing will change.
Yeah, I like that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds good. I mean, if y'all want to like fluff it up a little bit, I mean, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is,
it ain't fluff. I'm just saying, you know, hey, you know?
I mean, because like here's we have talked about hitting businesses in the pocket for over, I know, for at least 10 years. Right now is the one time where everybody is on that same wave. So I think that the question is not so much about how long as much as it is about time. It's about time that we started doing things together to actually impact those issues that are going to affect the people at the top all the way down to the bottom. Because when you have CEOs and business owners who continue to use race or to use prejudice to prevent people from actually appreciating their business, because we know that the dollar is the bottom line. But the thing is that now they need to know that what they say is actually going to actually affect their bottom line. Because we talk about all the time, you know, we have on our shirts like a Polo or a Nike or a Tommy Hilfiger or Prada, and was like, well, you know, we got to stop supporting those businesses. And we hear that all the time. But here now, when these corporate entities are really recognizing that there is a movement to where their bottom line is going to be affected, it's going to change them. Now, it's not going to change their heart. It is going to change how they start treating people, though. Because when they see that your dollar And remember, a dollar doesn't have a color. When your dollar starts to make an impact a negative, it's really going to it's got to improve something. And then on top of that, you think about all of the businesses that have cropped up here within the last 3 or 4 weeks. So like, all right, so we talking about cancel culture, and as Black people, it's there's a myth that we love chicken. So when this issue that happened up here at Bojangles up in Pisgah Church, where the white guy spit at the lady in the drive-through, and we stopped going to Bojangles. Well, then we started picking up business at these other Black-owned businesses. I haven't seen a lot of traffic at that Bojangles.
Yeah.
All of and that Bojangles, if I'm not mistaken, is owned by the same person. That person has like 2 or 3 Bojangles in town, and nobody's going to them.
Wow.
So it's again, I don't think the question is how long. I think the statement is it's about time.
Yeah. And the how long piece that I was talking about was like how long will they change? Not necessarily how long do we stop spending money.
Okay.
Like if we hit them in the pockets and we see these changes, like how long will it last? Will it get back to how it was back in the 60s when they did the bus boycotts and things like that? But now one thing that I see firsthand and that I'm reading about is a lot of these major corporations are actually shifting. Well, at least they're talking about shifting their processes as far as like hiring, like high level leadership, upper management, and things like that, to include not just more diversity, but specifically more Black people. And they're sending millions and millions of dollars into these organizations that are supposed to directly impact Black people. So at the same time, like we're saying, hey, let's hit them in the pocket, but it's like some of them are ahead of the curve and say, hey, you know what? Before they hit us in the pocket, we're going to go ahead and allocate these funds. We're going to show them what we're going to do so we won't get hit. Yeah. So it's still, what I'm saying, these corporations are still playing chess too, man. So it may not be that simple as like just hitting them in the pocket,
I want to take Carlos's comment. He says, I think if there's a change in their behavior for the better, I think we can cancel certain past mistakes.
I can rock with that.
Yeah.
I agree.
Forgiveness. We all have to learn how to forgive one another because we've done some stuff in the past, as Ron has said, and folks have forgiven us. God has more so have forgiven us. So we have to do it as well too. At the same time, we hold people accountable so that we don't repeat the same mess. Even when it comes to tearing down these statues and things like that. Okay, again, I understand your frustration, but now, all right, what is the plan? What's the next move going forward?
That's like with the whole statue situation too. I think that's another that's a silent cry that is being heard because many of us we don't know who those statues are. Yeah. I'll take my personal example as a graduate of East Carolina. There were dorms that were named after slave owners that maybe 4 or 5 years ago, they changed the name. Actually, it might have been 3 years ago, like Baumgartner Hall, Tyler and Jones. All of those were slave owners, and they changed the names of the dormitories because they wanted to be sure that there was no affiliation of anything negative to the university. And then when we start looking at these statues, is a silent power movement that some of these guys who are being seen as a fixture of history also have a past that's not reflective of being inclusive. And that's really hard to say because in the historical text, it'll be hard pressed for at that time for any other person but a white man to be on a statue. I mean, gosh, I mean, like the only other statue I can think about is outside of the Chicago Stadium.
Mm-hmm. And then you got
that was a joke. That was a joke. You know, it was a joke. That was George. You know, it was a joke.
Hey, well, since you look into that as well, let's talk about that. What if say the opposite situation where well we're offended by, for example, the flag, so we get rid of everything else. So then what if they start getting offended by our Black pride, heritage, or so symbols? You know,
that's interesting.
But we don't have no place like that, though. I don't think. Outside of HBCU, I don't know if we have anything that they would. You know, what you gonna tear down?
Like,
I mean, you have those minority voices that'll come out and say, you know, hey, Black history is racist. You hear that? You see that? You'll see those tweets and those comments. Like, that's racist. You know what I'm saying? So,
but Black history is American history.
Correct.
And that's the reality.
We know this. I'm just saying. You have those minority people, white people, that'll come up when you say we're celebrating Black history. That's racist.
Yeah.
And I would be the one that would say, well, we celebrate white history every day. Every day that there's some type of white history. And then like my counter argument to that is that every day there's going to be a first. And I think I've said that before. Every day there's going to be a first where African American does something. That should tell you a whole lot about history in itself. Every day. And more than likely, even within the four of us, we made history in the places that we're in.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Again, this is Culture Kings. Make sure you join up on our Facebook page, Culture Kings, LLC Facebook page, and also again, if you'd like to join in on the conversation as we talk about different topics relevant for today, feel free to join in. I want to thank those who have joined us so far. You know, so right now, we're talking about several different topics, and talk about the hangman's noose, and so and dealing with also American history, which as I've said, this is a perfect time to help educate people about American history. All right, about Black history. All right, because again, I don't want us to repeat what was the negativity. You know what I'm saying back then, because once if you erase something, you're bound to repeat it again because you have no knowledge of it. So
that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
Seriously. So
I had I was reading an article on CNN.com. I just wanted to and what made me click on it because it was talking about like the protests and everything. So right now we got all of these protests and solidarity. We're seeing the Black Lives Matter, the artwork, people, cities they're painting the streets and installing all of this stuff, right? But I saw this headline. The headline said, and this was on CNN.com. Well, no more the caption. It says that protests have swept the nation. It all may have been for nothing. And basically, what the article was saying that all of these bills and ideas are getting presented as far as like reforming the police and all of these things, but the Democrats and the Republicans are fighting over it like in Congress. So it says that basically the Republicans control the Senate and then the Democrats lead the House. But they can't agree on anything. And so all of the protests and people getting sick, risking their lives, risking, getting hit with the coronavirus, all of this stuff, risking it, and it could be for nothing, and there's still no change. Like the people who can make the change and put laws in place, they can't even agree. So like the question, so the statement was like, man, this could be all for nothing.
Wow.
And that was kind of heavy, you know what I'm saying? Because it still comes down to, I guess, an inward battle. Maybe it's a inward, another like a civil war type deal. You know what I'm saying? Going on in the government. So I'm like, how can we move forward? You know what I'm saying? We make all of these noise in the streets, and we get the attention of the people in government, but they can't agree, and then they just end up nothing happens. You know what I'm saying? You got buildings burned down, you got people out of work, you got people injured, you got death. For what?
So it all goes back. Basically, you said the inward battles between the Senate and the House, and so all this protesting and whatever rioting that folks want to call it, and all that's going on really means nothing because they can't get their stuff together.
But what if it's deeper than that, though? You know, I watched my good friend Pastor Brent Belly online today, and he drew a great analysis between the spirit of racism and the text where Christ in Matthew 12 talks about casting out the unclean spirit, and that spirit leaves and they come back with seven
more,
and takes over that, you know, the original person that they was possessing. So he was saying, you know, we've been dealing with racism for a long time in this country. And it seemed like with all the so-called progress we should have been making or we thought we've made, we still find ourselves back at ground zero. You know, each generation is still dealing with that same demonic spirit of racism that the previous generation dealt with. And for whatever reason, it's not getting better. It's as if that spirit is getting stronger and worse. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like it's a thing where, you know, we're trying to handle things through the political spectrum and through civil rights and marching and activism. He said, but you know, the bottom line is that the church has dropped the ball on this thing a long time ago.
I agree.
And until believers really get on that post, you know, because the end time talk about nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, right? You know, the word nation, the Greek word for nation is ethnos, where we get the word ethnicity from. So that's where we at right now. You got battle races, you know what I'm saying? Race against race, you know, but there's also kingdom against kingdom. So you got the spiritual connection there. That's driving this race against race. Is that behind the scenes is the kingdom of darkness and the kingdom of light of God. So, you know, we've been going through we don't have a bunch of intelligent people. We've had King, Martin, W.E. Du Bois. We don't have a bunch of intelligent people, you know, trying to tackle this thing and come up with plans. You got Dr. Claude Alexander, you know what I'm saying? He comes up with power numbers, economic plan, financial freedom, all these different things that we've been trying to put in place. But at the end of the day, we're still stuck at ground zero. And I believe what you're saying, Storm, is that we do all of this, the margin of protest, and the people look like they're all on board. So it's a powerful wave right now. And I agree, we don't catch this wave now. I'm a little concerned. You know, take advantage of this wave now. But if after all of this, if we still end up at ground zero, then we've got to start looking at something else.
Hey, let's go to these two comments real quick. Carlos says, that's where educating our community on the power of voting so that we can vote some people out of our community. So, all right. And then there's one Facebook user says, I don't know that I say it's for nothing. It seems that the needle is moving. I could be wrong, but I've not seen it get to the point where there was even talk about police reform. I think the key is to keep pushing. So, I like that. Man, Andre says the same thing happened after World War I. The resentment was even stronger, and the Jews suffer. I see it repeating until Jesus comes back. Man, wow.
It's a spiritual thing. Really.
Yeah,
it's a spiritual thing. I think that like what Stott was talking about, and this is where we also, I think we have talked about this in our private circles, is that it's the wrong voice. So, you know, Black people are trying to push the agenda for ending racism, but we're the recipients of it. The people who are responsible for it have to be the voice to tackle it. And so that is also a good point, because now you're seeing more white people stand up and say that right is right and wrong is wrong.
Right.
And I think that too, like that goes to the statement of the Facebook user, where we see that the needle is moving. The needle is moving because now that there's an empowerment for people who don't look, who are not minorities. In this case, Black people, brown people, yellow people, who are saying that they're going to do better. And this is where we also can say that the prayers of the righteous have availed much, because we have been praying for leadership, but I think that our natural eyes was on the people that we see. But then when we get into the spiritual part of it, when we actually are praying, it's a good thing that the Holy Ghost and that the Lord knows how to direct the prayers, because when we look at what's going on right now, management, leadership is starting to recognize that there is a issue that they have to address. And if we take a step back and consider that, you'll see that the voices from our history have been pushing forward, and now it has opened up a door to where people who are the oppressors are now saying that there has to be a change in order for, because again, the thing is, it's a human issue, right? It's not just black and white, because it's also gender. It's a human issue, and you're starting to see more and more of this happening. And I definitely appreciate the question that you made, Will, in regards to, and I know that we're going to talk about it here soon, is what's going to be the end game, and also what's going to happen when people just get tired of it. Yeah. But I think this is where we might have to take a step back and allow white people, in regards to this particular conversation, white people to actually have the conversation, let them hammer it out, but also continue to prod them towards what it is that we want. And I think that was last week that we also said, what is it that we want? Yeah. So we need to be, right. we need to be saying what we want, so that the people who can really make decisions will know what they need to say.
But do, like, and this is going to sound weird, but do we know what to want? You know what I'm saying? We don't know what we want, right? But do we even know what we should want?
Well,
communicate that.
Yeah, well, so the first thing is that you're seeing agendas that are being put out there through the movements themselves. So, and I think that probably one of the most confusing agendas is the defunding of the police, which it does not mean that we want the police to stop. It's just that the funding that supports them, that those monies go to other projects that's going to support the community, which, like in its own right, it puts more of an onus of the police department to actually train effectively. Because if you don't have those excess funds, you're not going to waste time on a candidate that's just going to like ease through. You really are going to like pay attention to that. And then when we start talking about, now, when you talk about what it is that we want, when you hear the term redlining, it used to go in one ear and out of the other. Now we're starting to pay attention to that. And so what we want is for people to be informed so that they know how to vote and what to vote for. It's an amazing time that we're in, even though it's very confusing. There's
because I don't know what I want. That's like pretty good, and like I mean it affects me. All of the stuff affects me emotionally and things like that. But I'm like, man, I can't think of. I would like my job to pay me some more money or whatever. I would like my mortgage a little lower and stuff like that. But like, I mean, I don't really know what I want. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just talking about me, and it's a lot of people out there that don't know what to want.
And I think that's what we all are struggling with, is that we don't know what we want, but for the masses though, there's already an agenda out there. Because hope deferred it's a challenge to say, hey, I really want something, but then you don't know what it is that you want.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where our struggle is. Our struggle is that, man, there's something that's going to happen. What do I want out of this thing? Because it's so much. It's so much. You know, we want you want to live in a better neighborhood. You want more pay. You want your kids to be in better schools. You want all of the, you want your roads to be fixed. You know, like it's a lot of things that you want. And so this is where
equality though, right?
Yeah. I mean, equality is so broad. It's so broad though. It's not very specific.
And I think to a certain degree, and this is just me talking, like there's still a level of equality that you have to have within yourself. So like I don't feel inferior to white people. You know what I'm saying? There are situations that come up to where, oh man, maybe they would have treated me differently if I was white, but I still don't feel inferior. You know what I'm saying? And that may be why, you know, a person may get outraged if they're treated differently because you don't feel inferior. Like if you do feel inferior, maybe that's you expected or whatever. But I mean, and I'm only speaking for me, I think there needs to be a inward, there's some inward things that need to change in individuals too, when it comes to equality. Because like I said, I don't really, and I'm only speaking for me and maybe it's some others like me, but I'm like, man, I don't feel inferior, you know, to white people. You know what I'm saying?
You got one Facebook user says, I think we can learn from each other on what we should want collectively as Black Christians. We should have some points that we can all agree on.
That's a great point.
Great. Yeah, well, and even not just Black Christians, you know what I'm saying? Okay, yeah, that could be sort of the issue itself. It's like, I mean, you know, we're all inclusive, we're all Christians. I mean, you know, Black and white should agree, you know, regardless, especially when it comes to the word of God. But then again, that's where your interpretation of a scripture can be subjective. So, but again, yeah, that's another topic. But
I kind of feel like if I'm mistreated, it's not me with the issue. You know what I'm saying? It's the other person that has the issue.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of, and that's just me.
Well, that's why I think if we have our own, like again, Black Wall Street, Rosewood, Durham, North Carolina, others, you know what I'm saying, in the past, it has been done. We could do it again. So I think we need to start with some changes in legislation when it comes to holding the police accountable, killing or harming unarmed citizens.
And that's coming. That's coming.
Yeah.
That's coming.
Exactly.
Stop. What's up, man? Like, yo, you just contemplate a thing, bro.
Hey man, you brothers was flowing, man. I ain't want to interrupt the flow, man. I'm gonna get in the booth when it's my time, man. I keep the hot 16 on me, man. I'm gonna let y'all do what y'all do. If y'all bar hot, I gotta make sure my bars hotter. You know. But yeah, you know, Storm, you say what do we want? You know, and when I say Storm, his artistic name, William Stokes, is Quiet Storm.
AK Quiet Storm.
We want due process, man. We want what the Constitution says we supposed to have. You know, this country that my ancestors helped build. That's what we want. Right. We want to, if I see some blue lights behind me, I just want to think at most I'm getting a ticket. I don't want to have to process like, man, how this guy gonna be feeling when he walk over here, because how the laws are set up and the freedom they have in judgment, and they can choose whether they feel like they in danger. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel inferior. Ain't got nothing to do with if he feel like I'm a threat. You know what I'm saying? So I want somebody to roll up on me and not be perceived as any more of a threat than he is. Because to me, you're the threat. As you were saying, so you're the threat. I'm not the threat. You got the law, the whole law and judicial system behind you. You know what I'm saying? So whatever action you do, you know what I'm saying, you won't even probably be held accountable. And all I got to do is blink or make a sudden move, and you say, I thought he was reaching for something. We want that. Right. You know what I'm saying? You know, when you say this is the land of the free, but it's clearly an oppressed portion of people in this land. This is not right. We want this land, as Dr. King say, I want to be judged by the content of my character, not by the color of my skin.
Yeah.
So I think it's some things we know what we want. It's just a matter of wording it right and getting the laws, because it's the laws that have empowered people to continue to mistreat a certain sector in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it starts. Is like Carlos said, stiffer penalties for crooked cops and police stations. That is the great place to start. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Hold these crooked cops accountable. All right. So that'll make them think twice. Yeah, let me make sure I get this right, because I could go to prison for a long time or XYZ, whatever. You know
right. So basically, Carlos is saying that the police need to police the police. That's you know what I mean? Like when we look at that George Floyd situation,
Yeah.
It seems like every situation where there's two cops, like the other cop supports the bad behavior.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's when we talk about stiffer penalties, like you're guilty by association on that end. So that's a stiff penalty.
Right.
And if you're a police officer and you see something wrong, because we know that, you know, like it is the deepest fraternity ever. You know, like the police department is, they gonna protect their own. But when you had the black police officer there in Syracuse that reported that other police officer, she lost everything.
Yeah.
She lost everything, and now she's trying to get that revisited, but at what cost? You know, she was doing the right thing. So Ron, when Stott was talking about earlier, like due process and not feeling like you're being targeted. The sad part is that there's a significant amount of emotional attachment to those blue lights. Even he said, "Show us the money."
Yeah, reparations.
Amen. Preach, Lord.
Yeah. Get the bag, son. Get the bag.
Hey, give me 40 acres in the mill.
You know
Not a
Meal.
mill, not a mill.
you. But like there's for me, like I don't know if any of us, any black person, any black male, any black woman will ever feel like they can just get by with a ticket when they're pulled over by the police just because of the things that we see. And it's and like this statement right here,
Quitting because excessive oversight.
Yeah, because like now they put the body cam on there, and you see the cop. Sometimes in the video, you can see the cop trying to turn the thing off.
It's crazy, man.
You like this?
Don't want to be accountable.
Yeah, don't even want to be accountable because like you know that you're about to do something foul.
Right. And those stiffer penalties should come.
Yeah, like leave it on there if you're doing the right. Because dude, like I mean, gosh. Anywho, I mean, it's all I'm trying to say is that I think that even if due process was out there, black people will still feel like they're being targeted just because of what we see and what we've known historically to happen.
Wow.
And so, with that being said, I think it goes back to stop what we was talking about. It's still a spiritual issue, man. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I think a couple weeks ago I was talking about this this revival. Like when you hear people talking about a revival, and I think that's what we're seeing. Now I grew up like Baptist church or whatever, and they had a revival every year, regardless of what was going on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm like, well, which I don't understand that. You expecting to die every year, but anyway.
That's
a whole nother topic.
That's another topic. Yeah, we got to have a revival, a planned revival. But anyway, and how this stuff is getting worse, man. Like everybody got cameras. You know what I'm saying? He touched on something when he said, "Well, okay, we looking at racism, and we're coming back to ground zero." But those 7 other spirits that he bringing with him, making him feel more empowered.
Right.
So we maybe need to look we may need to look at some other principalities that's involved in this outside of the racism, and especially as believers, start going after those principalities in prayer and spiritual warfare, because I still think this is a spiritual battle at the end of the day. And maybe if we get some spirit-filled people in politics, in those positions, not just people who's like, okay, who's going to do X, Y, Z for black people, but who's going to do the right thing, who will have a biblical worldview, who will who be willing to live and die for the sake of the gospel and for the sake of Christ. And I think when we get those type of people in the police forces, when we get those type of people in government and in the community, I think then we can maybe see progress. But I think it's a lot of principalities, man, involved. I'm like Big Worm.
Yeah, that's what you asking about. I mean, right. Who really wants to pick up that cross though? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. like what he talked about, the lady that told and she got retaliated on. Colin Kaepernick took a peaceful protest with the knee. He got kicked out the league. You know what I'm saying? Like this has been like what repeat. You know, like people. No one's really make those sacrifices to speak up and stand up, like you know what I'm saying, especially those that are in position. Yeah. It's easier to be silent and look the other way, man. Is like long as it's not touching me.
Yeah.
I long as it benefit me. I mean, it hurt me.
That Ron is the fact reason why some folks not saying anything because they're not going to get the true support of the black community. You know what I'm saying? You know, if I lose my job, are you going to make sure, you know, give me money and things like that to help me take care of my bills until I find something else? So
good. So we need to have things in place where when people step up and they're hurt like this, that we can financially sustain them from the retaliation.
Danny come in with 2 guns out here, right? Danny come out here black.
Wow.
Where's the lie?
Well, you know what I'm saying? Well, I mean, but even with that, right? So you got to go back to the word on that, because the word tell you it's like it's no, you know, basically it's no ruler, no person in the position of authority that God didn't put there. Right. Now, like from our perspective, you know, it may seem like God made a mistake, but you know, the man is in there for a reason. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, the hoods came off when he came in the office. I tell you that.
You know, that might be part of the reason, man.
We might need it. We need to see. We need to have that cash. Like
some things need to be stable. Man, that there's going to be a shaking of the nation.
It goes back to what
shook some things up.
Well, Dorian said, it goes back to what y'all say. Hey, you know, the church dropped the ball on this. So it basically goes back to the church. The church need to get right. Bottom line.
Yeah. That's where the judgment starts, man. You know, right. Start at the house.
Yeah, exactly, Carlos. There's a price for standing for truth. Right. Exactly.
So that price to pay, I've been reading up on this. There's a group pooling of funds called a SUSU. Mm-hmm. That black people, we have indigenous people who come from other countries. That's how they end up buying up everything. Mm-hmm. And you know, when we talk about supporting someone who loses their job, I mean, I think that when we're saying these things, we also have to take into account that some of this is happening. Okay. So, like, all right, so I was telling Ron, DJ Ron, before we got on about Pembroke State. They had a peaceful protest in Pembroke State yesterday. Black students who are coming from all over the nation go to this little podunk town in Robertson County, and they were assaulted verbally and also threatened yesterday while doing a peaceful protest. And there was an alumni from North Carolina Central that said that he would pay all of their application fees to transfer if they wanted to go to another school.
That's dope.
And so like that right there is a part of, like, you know, empowering people. Like you don't have to stay where you are.
That's good.
You don't have to stay where you are. And so when you start looking at like the history of that, we don't have to necessarily invent the wheel. We just have to redesign it. So what does that mean? So if we have people from India or people from Asia to come over and buy up all of the dry cleaners and the corner stores and things like that, well, how do they do it? where they pool their monies together. They have a set amount that's going to be there every month. One person is going to take that amount, going to get started in their business. They're going to come back and bring back their portion, and then next month somebody else will get it, or however, and so the pooling of the funds is already there. And I think that it's important that on our platform, since we're talking about it, hey, listeners, go back to your pages and just, look up, Ron. I'm gonna send you this. Well, actually, it's in the chat. If you would just post that link about the susu, it's a really great read that we can start to share, because as Will was saying, if we're going to support someone that's going to put their life on the line or their job on the line, then those people need to be in those pools of people, in those groups that'll be able to support you and float you.
But real quick though, man, but what if I want to go out to eat every week, man, and I need a new pair of J's. I need, I need some new rims on my car, man. Like, what if I need all of this stuff, man? You talking about supporting somebody who lost their job, man?
Yeah, them the kind of people who have misplaced priorities. All right, that's the difference between needs and wants.
People want to wear J's.
It's going to take a mindset change. It's going to take a paradigm shift, man, for us to even start talking about that. Like,
but we can do that.
People giving up stuff. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was just kind of making a joke about that.
No, you want
money. I know that's
right. Like, because everybody's gonna have to give up something, man. Yeah. Like, you can take it back. Now, I don't want to take it back that far to this extent, but you take it back to the Book of Acts when all the believers they came together and they had all stuff common, and whoever knew, they just
not all of them.
Not all of them. There was a couple.
It was a husband and wife team.
Yeah, they had a different plan. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But like, everybody's got to be willing to give up something, man, in order for it to work. So cost, man.
You got Jay-Z, Van Jones, Meek Mill, Robert Kraft. It's a few other guys. They got this thing called the Reform Alliance, and they're doing great work. Like, Jay-Z don't advertise everything he does, but you'll see like a lot of these artists get in trouble, or just regular people get in trouble. Yeah. Jay-Z, they hop up on the scene, they get attorneys, and they start working towards these guys getting out of prison, getting fair trials and everything. Van Jones said something really good. He like, we keep talking about police reform. He like, we got to get with these laws. We got to change these laws so that people don't get caught up in the first place. Yeah. Because the reason they get caught up in this whole thing is because these laws are corrupt. And America has to look itself in the face about that, man. We don't change these policies and how are you policing?
Yeah. Hey, just like what Danny's saying, we can't even compel our folks to wear masks, let alone save money. So, it's the reality. You know what I'm saying?
We can't cancel them though, Danny. We can't cancel other people just because they don't want to wear masks, man. We got.
But the good thing about it too, it won't. It'll maybe only take a few. It'll take a small percentage of us with the right mindset.
Okay.
You could do. You could do a whole lot. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You look at what Gideon did with the 300, or you don't want to take it there. Look at Leonidas. You know what I'm saying? Well, he did with 300.
Come on, Bible.
300 black people, man, who's willing to come
through. Word.
You can make some things happen.
Come through, word.
Yes, sir.
Leonidas did more than that, but we ain't gonna talk about that right about now,
man. Yeah, I know.
Reparations, man. For real. We want our reparations. Hey,
offline conversation.
Hey, man,
Love, we can bring you on next week, man. So he talking, you be tripping, man.
Yeah.
So bring that Sunday, man. We need to bring you on.
The corona would disappear.
Yeah, he must be talking about the bottle.
Yeah, run off the shelf.
Yeah, we want y'all to check out Carlos, all right, in the nick of time. Go check out his series. Okay, hey, awesome actor, comedian. This man doing some great things. So hey, again, this is how we help celebrate one another. You know what I'm saying? This example, Kings promoting other kings. So yeah, it can be done. We just have to be intentional about making it happen and changing our mindset. So yes, so go definitely check out his.
You said, Los, you timed that.
Oh man, but yes, y'all. Well, thank y'all so much for joining us. All right, man. Again, we just thank y'all so much. We we want to keep coming here every Sunday, and we're gonna have some guests on. We got some shows planned, and yes, we're gonna be talking about some controversial issues, and we would love for you to be a part of it. All right, yeah, fellas, anything y'all want to say real quick?
Peace.
Yo,
Good stuff.
I just want to look at all the chocolate goodness.
Los, I can't move with you, Los.
No.
I gotta get the chocolate blessings. Yeah. I just want to, man, like today's conversation has been absolutely dope. I definitely appreciate where we are at this particular time to be able to elevate the thinking of people who are watching and listening, but also too that we're elevating ourselves. We're thinking along a broad spectrum. We're not linear. We're definitely vertical in this particular arena.
Right.
And I just want to tell y'all, as I put in the chat here, y'all dream richly, and when it manifests, you carry yourself royally.
There you go.
Man,
There you go. I like that. I like.
He said.
what
What
he,
he said.
Yeah, I likes that. Yes.
I can't even come after that, man. I'm just like,
Well, you can't even come out after that.
I'm
Dropper.
a statement like that. That's a mic dropper right there.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. I'm man.
Mic drop.
Yeah,
But I am looking forward to like the weeks to come, the guests and stuff that we have coming on, man. So we're gonna have some good stuff in store for y'all. So y'all stay tuned. Y'all come back and we'll got some good stuff. That's all I'm gonna say.
yes, we do. All
That
right.
wasn't a mic drop quote, but y'all get the point.
Ron, you already went.
Hey man, look, if you enjoying this, man, share it on your platforms. Tell those people to share it on their platforms, man. Let's just spread all this chocolate goodness as far as we can take.
Hey, well, you all are kings and queens out there. So hey, stand in your rightful place and lead whoever it is that God has called you to lead. And remember, you matter in the kingdom of God. So don't compare yourself or your ministry to anyone else. Just do what God has called you to do, and you'll be just fine. That's right. Ministry over popularity. Back, baby. Yes. Yes. Awesome. All right. We'll see y'all. You all be safe out there. Okay. We'll see you next week. Lord's willing. Peace.
Peace.
Yes. Salute. I did it wrong.